Hello there, and you're very welcome along to another episode of the Football Pod. I'm back with Paddy Andrews and James O'Donoghue. James, let's just get it out of the way here for anyone watching on YouTube. What's going on with your nose? Every week you have a different cut or a different scar. What is happening to you?
He's a tyrant. He's in a row every weekend, that fella.
It's just too big. It gets in the fucking way, no matter which way I turn.
I didn't think you had a match this weekend.
I got a war wound in a game, and then every time I tip off it now, it gets opened up. It does look bad there. I don't think it looks too bad, but
it looks all right. It's okay for the podcast. It's just YouTube.
I was going to get those strips.
Robbie Fowler, like.
Yeah.
You look hardy.
Yeah,
like.
cool. Huh?
Yeah. This could be a good look for you. Could be a niche.
And a bit of Vicks on the chest.
Yeah. All the noughties and 90s classics, like Vieira with the Vicks on the chest. And
Vieira had half a tub on.
Yeah. He'd a deal, though, I'd say. I want to see you with Kerry now wearing the Vicks on the chest. The Cliff will be copying you.
If it helps, but
Paddy, you were disappointed at the weekend when you tuned into the club action and there was no JOD starting for East Kerry, but East Kerry got over the line against Kenmare. They had a good win in the club championships. They're heating up across the board. James, your little nose injury will be cleared up hopefully for the weekend. East Kerry were drawn against Dingle on Sunday, so that's going to be a tight affair. That's going to be a good game. Mark O'Connor is back with Dingle, and all the Glong boys were down watching the match at the weekend.
Big boys by all accounts.
Yeah,
looks like a good trip they're on. To be fair to them,
yeah, they were
up at
in Laois. It actually was presented at the Laois final at half time. We would like to say congratulations to Aaron's Own in Antrim, to St. Patrick's in Wicklow, to the Downs in Westmeath, Port Arlington in Laois, Columkills in Longford, and Naas in Kildare, because they are the senior champions in their respective counties. They have joined the Monday Club this morning alongside Palatine and Carlow last week and Road and Offaly the week beforehand. Is there a sweeter hour in the year than Monday morning at 11 o'clock after you've won a club championship title? I don't think so.
If there is, I want to hear about it. But can't beat it. It's hard beat, isn't it? Like,
we lost the county final, and we lost to South Kerry with the Legion, right? We lost it in the most sickening beat of all time, by the way. We're 7 points up and lost after extra time by a point in a replay.
You were too busy thinking about the Monday Club. That's what happened.
Yeah.
It's into your head.
We lost to South Kerry, right? And I met a few of them in the pool on the Wednesday. And I said, how'd you get on the Monday? And they said, we didn't bother going out. We went to work.
Nah.
I said, you did not deserve to win.
That's a waste. That should be revoked. That title should be revoked.
It should have been replayed again after
Without a doubt.
That's shocking.
I will go to war with any man who says the night of the final is never as good as the next day. No chance. Or Tuesday is possibly even better than Monday. The night
is good if you're
mental, like you're wrecked, you're knackered, you're hanging together. It's brilliant, but it's just full on. Whereas the next couple of days where you're in some hellhole boozer just with the lads, it's hard beating that crack now. So I tip my hat to all the teams who are out today, and obviously the teams that were beaten as well. I'm sure they're indulging as well. Why not after a tough championship campaign? And more big finals this weekend, isn't there, T? Finals and semi-finals. Jimmy, you're Sunday. I thought you were on telly on Saturday night, Jimmy.
No, Saturday night it's Field Rangers. Yeah, Field Rangers against is it Mid Kerry?
Yeah, basically North Kerry against Mid Kerry.
Okay.
That's like the box office game is the other game. RTE, come on, lads. Put the big dogs on.
No, that'd be a good game. The other semi-final will be good as well.
Jimmy, you're not selling that to me. I want to see your game, the Cliff Mark and Mark O'Connor. That's what I want to see. I'm tune in for that. I'm not interested in who's the other crowd. Field.
Mid Kerry and Field Rangers, North Kerry, essentially hurling country in Kerry, James, isn't
exactly. Leave them off.
It is, but they have
doing well.
A good record. They have a good record, good historical record in championship. And this has been a great year for them. But like they won championship with Fitzmaurice, Galvin. You know, they had some great teams.
We've moved away from Monday Club very quickly here. Is it ever acceptable to not have a Monday Club?
It depends what round of the game you won.
Like I'm pretty sure
preliminary round.
Pretty sure
Monday Club.
Cratloe back in 2014 when they won the Dublin and Clare, I think it was excusable that they didn't have one because I think they won a county title on the Saturday and they were playing in the Munster Senior Club Football Championship on the Sunday. They were back out the following Sunday in the Munster Hurling Club Championship.
Stuff like that gets in the way. Like I hear you.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, if you win the championship, you're not playing for, even if you win the county for a couple of weeks until the provincial campaign kicks off, and definitely inter-county side of things, if you won games, Mondays were always big now, yeah. I remember when I started with Dublin, we used to do Mondays after the first round of the championship, genuinely.
Oh, yeah.
We beat back in like, 8, I think, was it? Oh, 8, I started. Yeah, we bet loud and we were out for about 3 days after. It was great. Never won it, but we go crack during the week. Like.
So it still has the same allure.
Yeah, sure. I was only young going back then, like,
but there was months between games back then, like, so you could go on a 2 or 3 days.
4 weeks, yeah.
And that was great for camaraderie. You could put anything under the umbrella of camaraderie.
The manager going hatch it and going, listen, team spirit, like, it's hard. It doesn't grow on trees.
It's true though, it doesn't. Like, it's important. Brings guys out of their shell.
That county final where South Kerry criminally went back to work on the Monday and you lost and you're in the pool on the Wednesday.
A couple of them now.
Who's leading the chair? So who was the main man for South Kerry?
That was Brian Sheehan.
That time, Brian Sheehan was awesome, yeah.
Well, he's a lot of supporter. Sheehan's the main man. He's got to round them up.
Yeah, but any free there, 50 yards out, he'd jog over and you're going, oh, fuck's sake, straight over the black spot, like from absolutely miles out.
Kick it out.
Depressing.
Some boy to kick it.
I'm seeing the headline here from 2015, not to be digging back into your heartache, but ugly scenes as Kerry rivals Legion and South Kerry draw after generous added time. Were you sent off that day?
I was never sent off until the last 18 months.
Once you start doing the football pod, they're targeting you now. You're like Sergio Ramos now. When's the last time you finished the game?
It was mistaken identity twice out of the 3 times. I've only been sent off 3 times. Mistaken identity twice. And contributing to Melee, which we discussed last year.
That is nonsense. It is absolutely nonsense. Yeah.
I told you need to get out the Brazzy. That's the gig. You can sort it.
Yeah. Right solicitor and get you off. Yeah. Who's the Dubs go-to guy?
For what?
Getting off various players for All Ireland finals.
They never suspended us anyway. Too much money.
Goff.
No, solicitor. I'm looking for the inside man, the solicitor.
I drink Goff. Just go Goff. Listen, we're saying that.
So as I mentioned, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 senior winners already so far this year. Just to give you an idea, lads, of where we are with the rest of the country. Armagh final, October 23rd, Crossmaglen against Grainmore.
23rd, 2 weeks. Right, okay.
Paddy, Grainmore won their county final, semi-final this weekend. They're complete underdogs getting in there. Did you see the goal that got them over the line?
Is this the one you sent me? This game. Yeah, I did see it. Lads.
A speculative shot on goal is taken. It looks like it's gone up in the air and it's gone wide. The keeper sprints behind to get the ball because we know how important quick restarts are. But the wind holds the ball up and it drops in.
Feels like it's up there for an age. Like the keeper runs around the back to get a ball, stops, has a smoke, has a chat with the umpires, and the ball is still in the air. Like, and then by the time he comes back, your man's put it in the net. We're getting a bad rep for giving out about goalkeepers here, and we covered it a lot during the summer about these fly goalkeepers and. Questionable. There's very few that do it effectively. Ethan Rafferty obviously was one of the standout guys doing it, but there were some real horror shows as well. But this is something different altogether. Like he literally just, I actually haven't seen anything like that before. That is
first time. How windy was it? Was it?
It must have been hurricane over there. I'd say.
Yeah, it looks windy. Like, look at it.
They lose the game.
I feel sorry for them. Yeah.
Well, they were 1 down at the time, so that made them put them 4 down with a minute or 2 to go. Was that?
Well, that was it. Right at the end. Oh, lads.
It's crushing. But like keepers are under a savage amount of pressure to get that restart out as quickly as possible, and his team are chasing. It's just the breeze held it up. So we feel for him, and also we saw it in Roscommon. Paddy Brogan, former DCU and Roscommon footballer who would have had plenty of injury troubles over the years, scored a savage goal. 40 yards out or so, outside of the right boot. The keeper got caught, dispossessed maybe 20, 30 yards out. Ball set back to Brogan. That brought Strokes down to the Roscommon County final. And we have a novel pairing there, Boyle against Roscommon. So Boyle against Strokes, in the Roscommon final. So Crossmaglen
that's 2
against
weeks,
Grainmore.
Roscommon final is 2 weeks.
Roscommon final is 2 weeks up. Armagh, October 23rd, Crossmaglen against Granmore. In Cavan, we're at the final stage. Gown are playing Killygarry in their first final in 50 years. In Derry, we've a repeat of last year's final. Slaughtneil against Waddy Graham's and Glen. The Donegal final has obviously been deferred because of the tragedy in Creaslock at the weekend. That's St. Eunan's and Nave Connell. We don't have a date to go with that one yet. In Down, we're seeing St. Peter's Warren Point play Kilcoo, the All-Ireland Club champions. For Mana, we have the final stage, Enniskillen Gales against Erne Gales. In Monaghan, we've got our finalists, Scottstown against Ballybay. Tyrone is at the semi-final stage. Clonlow are playing Carrickmore, and last year's champions, Dromore, are playing Ergal Kieran, who obviously have the two Canavan brothers flying at the minute and a couple of other quality footballers. Galway, semi-final stage as well. Salthill, Knocknacarra are playing Damien Comers, Anna Down, and Moylochmine Belly were up against Moycullen. Leitrim, the championship there has been flying along. They're at the final stage. Mohill are playing St. Mary's, so Mohill are back in the final again this year. And in Mayo, it's a semi-final stage. Castlebar Mitchells are against a young and fancied Westport side who won an intermediate All-Ireland a couple of years ago. And Ballina are playing Ballintubber, who obviously have the O'Connors on board. Roscommon, as I mentioned, Boyle versus Strokestown. In Sligo, St. Mary's are playing Turlestrane. In Clare, it's at the semi-final stage. Éire Óg against Carafin. And Kilmurray bricking against Ennistimon. No.
Don't mention the word.
Huh? You're not out.
Yeah, we were beaten last week.
Wiped.
We were beaten last week. It's horrible. Crushing. But anyways, best of luck to all of them teams. In Cork, St. Finbarrs against Nemo Rangers.
I thought I heard gritted teeth there.
There was absolutely gritted teeth.
Yeah. Take apart that counts. That's the main thing.
Yeah,
it's a long
football is the real winner here, lads.
It's a long winter. It is, yeah. It doesn't actually help watching it back 4 times a week afterwards as well.
The game, I'd never watch it back after.
But I know from chatting to you boys, you gotta watch it back to learn. But like, I haven't learned anything other than it's just absolutely
watch back
crushing.
to learn when you've won in the end, like.
Yeah.
And you've played very well. Otherwise,
and you kicked a few spinners, it keeps that on a loop. Like, but if you're beaten and you're out,
Yeah. Did you used to have Huddle or any of those, Paddy?
Yeah.
Huddle was good because they'd sort your clips. Like you'd have your.
You didn't have to watch the whole thing. Like.
Oh yeah.
You'd have your 20 clips and then job done 5 minutes.
Yeah, lovely efficiency.
Yeah. We use Huddle and Cratlow, and
there's a couple of them now.
Yeah.
I wonder if Huddle's still the main one. I'd say it's a lucrative enough market. I'd say everyone's at it.
Yeah,
it's a good setup. Yeah,
it's worthwhile. Pat Spillane wouldn't be a fan of it, no.
Does he have a laptop? Does he?
Like it is. If you're thinking about the game that often and you're on Huddle, a couple of times a week, and training and gym and shooting, all like it does get a bit much.
You need to review your games. You need to look like we spoke about. Stephen O'Neill spoke about it. Learning from your mistakes, particularly for forwards, and I know it's probably the same for backs. If you miss shots, why did I miss that? Where did I miss it from? What other options did I have?
But that's why it's definitely beneficial to just have your own clips, because otherwise you're getting into other fellas' mistakes and you're giving out about other fellas, and other fellas are giving out about you rather than just improving your own individual bit each, which would bring the group on miles. Like,
yeah, you got to take responsibility for your own performance, and then the management will cover the wider team implications, like the forward unit, defensively, kickouts, whatever it is. But no, I have to say, I would have looked at it quite a bit now on my own game. Good stuff and bad stuff. I know we're laughing about it, but if you made mistakes or something didn't go well, I'd be all over trying to figure out why and what do I need to do the next day. Like, but that's just part of it, isn't it?
The last year or two, club level is my first time being properly exposed to it, and it's amazing when it's edited well, the picture you can get of what you're facing. Yeah. And it's all about that editing, because you'll miss it watching a game back in full, but when it's a collection of clips together and it's put together well, and there's a point to what you're doing, it's amazing the picture it can build for you.
It's gas. Like you miss a shot in a game, say, and you think you're under savage pressure, and then you watch it back on Huddle or TV or something. There's no one there. You're like, what the fuck am I doing there? It's just, it's a different perspective on it. It's good. Like, but I'd say every team, like you're mentioning it there, I'd say every club team is using it now at this stage. Like.
Oh yeah, you have to be.
So it's big time. Big time.
Okay. That was
what about the Dublin final now?
I'm getting to it. I'm getting to it now. Just going through Munster here. In Cork, we're at the final stage. St. Finbarrs against Nemo Rangers. That should be a cracking final. Yeah. Finbarrs, obviously, I saw Finbarrs in Munster Club action last year. They were very impressive. They bet stacks in the Munster Club final. Yeah. In Kerry, obviously, as we mentioned, Field Rangers against Mid Kerry, Dingle against East Kerry. We'll come back to that again. Limerick, Monaleen versus Newcastle West at the semi-final stage, and Adair against Father Casey's. And Tipperary's the final Upper Church Drumbain against Clonmel Commercials. I think they're in for a dual title at the minute. And Waterford are at the quarter-final stage. Carlow, Palatine are champions. In Dublin this weekend, Paddy, you'll be heading to Nafina against Kilmacud Crokes.
I want to go in and have a look.
Yep. Should be a good game of football. Paul Mannion. And the hurling final too.
Yeah, both teams playing in the hurling final as well. So I think Conor McHugh, an old teammate of mine from Nafina, is a big player for both hurling and football. So it should be a great final. So it's on telly, actually. I think it's
4 o'clock, is it?
Yeah, the Kenny hurling final is on first on TG Car, and then
it's on TV.
Crokes, Nafina is on after. So Mannion's missing, obviously, for Crokes. I would have had them as favourites. That brings it in a lot tighter. So Shane Walsh, to be pressure on him now to stand up now. His biggest game for Crokes, obviously, since he's gone there. So it should be a great game.
Deep. I saw the must have been the semi-final.
Against Cooley. Or no, quarter-final.
Quarter-final I saw on TV. Yeah, he's playing very deep, isn't he?
Yeah, well, you kind of afford to do it. If you keep Mannion in close, you can allow him to come out. But I think there's going to be big pressure on him, a scoring burden, without Mannion on Sunday. And obviously, Nafina have Johnny Cooper and all merchants. So they've got a good bit of stuff in their own backline. So it'll be a great game. I'm looking forward to. Hopefully the weather's decent for it. It'll be a big crowd in Parnell Park, I would say.
Yeah, you'd imagine so. That'll be good. I look forward to hearing your reaction to that next week. In Kildare, Naas have won back-to-back championships. They bet Clane. They held them off yesterday. Mullinavatter, the Kilkenny champions. Port Arlington won at Laois at the weekend. Colin Kills bet Mullinachta in Longford. A late penalty from Rory Harkin got them over the line, won 7 to 8 points. In Louth, it's gone to a replay. RD St. Mary's and the Blues, Newtown Blues, drew 112 apiece. In Meath, Ratoath, who lost the hurling final to Trim at the weekend, are playing Summerhill. Ratoath have been the big dogs in Meath over the last couple of years. They won an intermediate title, got to a couple of senior finals, eventually got over the line with 2 wins in the last couple of years. So Ratoath are going for another one against the Summerhill side, who are managed by Conor Gillespie, who was a savage footballer for Meath around 2012-13, got some very bad injuries, quite a young manager, and that's a young team.
Isn't he?
Yeah, a young team in Summerhill.
He's the manager. Jeez.
He's the manager, yeah. So
what is the final this weekend? Sunday?
I have to double check when the Meath final is. I think it's the weekend after.
Jeez.
Oh, I think it's this weekend. It's this weekend.
One brief. It's your county, like you don't even know.
Yeah, he's clear now, Paddy.
I'm in Clare. Sorry, I forgot you. You're Clare. Yeah.
I've given up my rights to Meath football. Offaly Road, as we know, are champions. They bet Tullamore 1-9 to 11. The Downs won in Westmeath. Lar Wall coached them to a big victory against St. Lomans. And then in Wexford, Chevaliers, if I pronounced that right or wrong, I can never remember. They're playing Castletown.
That's O'Gara's crowd.
Shelmaliers. Yeah, Shelmaliers.
Yeah.
That's the one. O'Gara's club. Yeah, they're playing Castletown in Wexford. St. Patrick's.
When's that?
I don't know. I don't have the date down. St. Patrick's are the Wicklow champions.
You're just going through every county here. Like.
I'm just giving you a state of play where we're at. We have been also updating our manager list for the last little while. Still no white smoke in Donegal or Roscommon. We aren't going to now talk about rumours about who may be taking over in those counties.
That's what happens.
We don't want to get in any trouble. So.
Well, you started one on Twitter.
I did not.
You were straight. You were the first journalist in. Like.
You announced Donaghy.
I did not announce Donaghy.
Wasn't he? He was straight in there. This is nonsense.
I was in London.
I thought it was a good gig. I seen it and I was like, that's actually not bad. Like, I'd be intrigued to see how we'd get on. But he fairly poured cold water on that one.
I'd say you could have got a shout, James, if they were in there.
The Rossies, lovely over there out west.
Oh, you've changed your tune, haven't you?
Me?
Yeah.
No, they're still not going to do anything. But
and Limerick. Limerick have hired.
I was only thinking, this is what I was laughing, but this WhatsApp rumours, this is nonsense going around for months. I said it to you, and you were trying to give it some airtime. This is the latest example of nonsense that goes around on WhatsApp. Donaghy's trending on Twitter as the new Roscommon manager. You know,
but whoever came up with it must have been delighted with the traction it got, because it went everywhere in the space of half an hour.
Yeah.
Well, it was reported by the Connacht Telegraph, which didn't do it.
But he must have got it. It was a bit of an ego boost for Donaghy there, because I'd say there was huge positive reaction out of it, especially in Roscommon.
There was a lot of excitement, apart from Armagh people who were like, "Oh no."
Yeah.
But that was that. Limerick have appointed Ray Dempsey So after Billy Lee stepped away, you would have been worrying about them. He's done very well with them over the last couple of years. But Ray Dempsey, who was very close to getting the Mayo gig by all accounts, has been announced as their new manager, former Mayo footballer.
McConville leaving Wicklow now to go over there, or what's he going to do?
I never thought of that.
Yeah, there you go. Hold on to your horses.
Yeah. Dempsey played in the 89 and 96 finals at Mayo, coached Mayo under 21 and minor level, and coached Knockmore to back-to-back senior football titles.
That's a good gig.
Yeah.
Leach from Division 2. There's a buzz
Limerick.
around them. Obviously, Limerick. Buzz around them. Promotion. Billy Lee did a brilliant job. Surprised he left, but
Division 2 is no joke, though, isn't it?
This year's going to be hard. Like, Derry are still in there. Dubs are there. Obviously, a bit stronger, you'd feel, from last year. Kildare are down there as well. It'll be a big ask for them. Clare have been kind of knocking on the door, trying to get up to Division 1 with Colin Collins there. It is very, very competitive. But I think it's a good gig. Like, I mean, Limerick footballers, they're a bit, obviously, in the shadow of the hurling team, but what they've done over the past couple of years under Billy Lee has been outstanding. So, and Dempsey's obviously he's a top coach. That's a brilliant record he's put together so far. Obviously, very close to getting the Mayo job, but I think that's a good appointment for both parties there. Be interested to see how they get on.
Exactly. It's a big chance for Ray Dempsey now to assert his credentials down in Limerick. Lads, so that's a bit of the club drama and the roundup there with some of the managerial news and bits and pieces that have happened over the last little while. There was an interesting announcement in Meath GA circles last week, and I know I'm not allowed to mention Meath that many times, but you might excuse me this time. They've announced a regional tournament, and they've put a lot of stock into it. They have appointed 8 strong management teams in the county for 8 regional teams to go into a tournament over the next 8 weeks, which is going to run side by side with the under-20 championships in the county. So it's going to be a lot of football happening in Meath over the next while.
So it's going to be after. It's only going to start after the senior final.
After the senior championship, and it only includes
completely new competition.
It's just been started now. Completely new competition. It's not yet linked to the senior championship, but I do wonder if it works and they get a bit of joy out of it. I wonder would that change down the line. I don't know. That's just speculation. But for the moment, it's a new tournament at the end of the intermediate and junior championships and the senior championships. It's only intermediate and junior players in it. And Colin O'Rourke has said, so it's all grouped into different regions. So in Meath, there's 70 odd clubs in Meath, a lot of clubs in Meath.
So there's no senior players allowed. That's interesting.
No. Yeah. Okay. So it's just intermediate and junior. So it's going to be interesting, right? And it gives a big opportunity to a lot of players in rural clubs to put their hand up and show what they're about.
Surely kind of, well, that it does bring the level down a small bit if you're not putting the senior players in there.
Senior players in that now. That's surprising. Yeah.
But those senior players are already in action in the senior championship.
Yeah, but it's essentially a trial. It's a 2-month trial period for Colin O'Rourke to, but nearly like a bit of it is kind of box ticking. So we can go to every single club and go, this is an opportunity to pull together the best players from every single club in the county. You're going to get a 2-month window here to play games. We're going to go out and watch us all. The big fear for any manager when they go in is players slip through the net. You know, how is that fella not playing with the senior team? This is an opportunity for all of those guys to be in the shop window. O'Rourke and his management team are going to be looking at it. I think it's a great idea. We did something very similar in Dublin many years ago with Pat Gilroy when he took over. Exact same scenario, split into Dublin regions. And it wasn't a long thing. It was only over the course of a week.
Okay.
So it was 3 games, so it was a bit more condensed, but all the senior players were in it.
But that ensures the quality.
Yeah.
This is different, right? Colin O'Rourke hasn't come up with this. This is a long-term strategy from the Football Review Committee in Meath to try and get the standard of football in the county to a higher level. They've done a lot of work in restructuring the champions. It's getting complicated now, where they've relegated 5 teams from intermediate this year. So they're reducing the size of the championships to try and increase the quality. I actually think, from somebody who played club football in Meath for a long time, it's a huge benefit because there are so many clubs that are from tiny parishes that might have 2 or 3 strong players that have the potential to, you know, become intercounty footballers that are getting lost, that aren't in the big towns, that aren't further up the county and getting spotted.
That's the point of it, Tommy. Like, that's why I see. Like, I'm actually surprised. I thought O'Rourke and the management team had organised this.
No, it's been coming for a while. Yeah,
it's a trial tournament.
Yeah,
that they go and there's 8 weeks of games. And like say, okay, maybe you know the guys from that Hout or Simonstown or whoever, the bigger clubs in Meath, the more traditional clubs, that go, okay, there's 5 or 6 of those guys who are going to be on our squad for the O'Brien Cup. But I'm sure Colin O'Rourke is looking at this going, I want to get 8, 10 players out of this that we can bring forward in January into the National League and into the Division 2 campaign. So it's a good idea. There's a lot of time obviously goes into it. 8 weeks is a long road of it. But I'm sure it's a good start that the clubs can't turn around and say, well, our guys didn't get an opportunity, or players can't turn around and say, I didn't get a fair crack at the whip. They've 2 months now to put their hand up and say to O'Rourke and the management team, I want to go here. And I think that's a good starting point for where Meath are at. Hopefully they'll be able to find a couple of players out of it. Yeah.
James, you've obviously only this year been allowed to play for a regional side in Kerry, as Legion are playing intermediate championship this year, and you have, am I right in saying you're at the semi-final stage once that resumes after the Kerry, is it the county championship this is now?
Yeah, so the way we do it is there's a junior, intermediate and senior club championship.
Yeah.
Right. So if you win any of them, you go on and represent Kerry and Munster.
Okay.
At those levels. And then there is a county championship, which is the big one.
That's where you prestigious.
What's that?
The county championship is the prestigious. They're both obviously good, but that's the big dog.
That's the big dog, yeah. So you have your 8 senior clubs and 8 divisions. So your divisions are Mid Kerry, East Kerry, North Kerry, West Kerry, you know. So there's
St. Brendan's, Field Rovers, yeah.
They need better names for them, Jimmy. They should.
No, but Field Rangers is North Kerry, but it's just
no. You need to jazz that up.
But only
like Todd Bowley from Chelsea.
Yeah, I think so. If I was in the marketing department of Kerry GA, I'd be like, "What are we calling Mid Kerry here? Mid Kerry,
Kerry Magics."
Yeah, the Mavericks.
Mickle's
Mid Kerry Mavericks against. I don't know. What are you, North Kerry Ninjas? I like that.
That could work.
An idea is good. I need to talk to someone down in Kerry.
We'll throw the names after.
There, will you?
But no, the thing about that setting is you still have your divisions, right, which are made up of junior and intermediate club players, but you're guaranteed to have the quality in the tournament because all the senior club players are still playing with their senior clubs, you know. So you have everybody in the county can play county championship, no matter what club you're from. So it does, like, it sparks interest in everyone in the county because everyone can be involved.
So it's fantastic setup. Stacks probably would have been a big team last couple of years. Did they win both? Would they won the club and the county championship in the same year? I think Stacks won both last year, yeah. And would you believe they're in the relegation game this year? They could go down to intermediate in 2 weeks' time. Happens, too many Monday clubs.
They're playing Kenmare. They're playing Shawnee Shea's crowd in a relegation game, Fitzgerald Stadium.
And Kenmare very easily could have beaten East Kerry yesterday.
Kenmare strong, very strong.
So it's kind of look at a draw. Like, you're East Kerry, Jimmy, are you?
Yeah, we're East Kerry. But we had a couple of
the All-Stars now this year.
Huh?
With Cliff and all the lads. Like, it's just kind of this period now, East Kerry are.
Well,
you the game at the weekend, like, you can't give it the big one, but
like the clubs are strong in Kerry because the county league is strong. So you're kind of working with your players all year round and you're developing system and tactics, and like the clubs are strong, I think. Like Dingle now we're playing will be strong.
Yeah.
And from your experience, and we all know that David Clifford plays for a junior club, but has this over the years thrown out a couple of hidden gems from the intermediate or the junior championship in Kerry?
100 million%.
Yeah.
Because like every player has to get a chance to play county championship, has to get a chance to play in front of a crowd, get their name out there, you know, get spotted. As much as you might say it's unfair or whatever, people aren't going in droves to intermediate championship matches and junior championship matches, you know, but they'll go to county championship matches when fellas are playing with their division.
This is where the marketing comes in, Jimmy. If you have the right marketeer, the junior championship be on BT. That's the sky's the limit.
Only if we change the names of all the clubs as well.
That's step one. It's not going anywhere until the names are changed. I'll talk to Todd Bowley. Leave it with me.
I like it.
LinkedIn.
I like it.
But it does definitely get fellas out there, gets them playing together, gets them playing at a high level, and it increases quality 100%.
Did you play
the county final, Jimmy? I want to go to the county final this year.
What's that?
I'm coming down to Kerry. I need to talk to a few people for the county final. What date is that on?
It's on the county
10th.
final. What day is it today?
10th. So the semis are this weekend, which is the 16th.
Semis this week, 16. Yeah,
It's
so
on
not
it's on the bank holiday
not
weekend.
the 30th. Yeah, bank holiday weekend. Yeah.
And then is the intermediate club championship following 2 weeks after that or something like that? Is it
One
week?
week.
Oh, Monday.
That'll be
tight.
in Stack. Will it be in Austin Stack or be in Killarney?
The Stacks game is on in Killarney against Kenmare.
No,
the
the county final, is it normally in Austin Stack Park or is it in Fitzgerald Stadium?
It's usually in Killarney, yeah. But
Okay.
I said
On the
depending who's in
weekend.
the semi-finals are in Tralee.
That's an open goal to go down to that.
Paddy, did you play in Pat Gilroy's regional tournament back in 2009? I'm just reading the headline here back then.
It did,
Gilroy is after 10 or 12 players, December 16, 2009. It was played at the Innisfails GA grounds in Balgriffin.
Well, yeah.
That was a bit lazy, like round up all the teams together for a week, so he doesn't have to go around to all the clubs.
That was the
That is
gig.
what he
That
did.
was the gig. We had a great team. We were Dublin West.
Oh, yeah?
So we were good. Bridget's were good at the time. Plunkets. So we'd all the Brogans and J.O. were all with us. They were.
And did
really
you get
good.
on?
Yeah. We all kind of live within about 5 minutes of each other. So on the pitch now, when we're playing against each other, they were tasty enough. I think Plunkets had lost the final that year to Crokes. And we actually played Plunkets in the championship final a couple of years after that. But we would have known each other very well. And then Luke and Sarsfields were in it as well. They were with us. So we had a really good team. And I was full back, actually.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I was good, though. It was good. And we got to the final. And we were red hot favourites, and we were playing Dublin Central, I think. So Dublin Central was Ballymun, who were not bad. All the lads were all young at the time now. So like Philly McMahon would have been playing, but they'd been younger. And Vincent's. Those teams did not get on, but they were a Dublin Central team, and they whopped us in the final. And I tell you why, we won the semi on the Saturday, and the final was on the Sunday. And sure enough, it was November, and we're like, right, we'll have a few points here tonight. And I mean, we arrived to play the final the next day, and we were not in great shape. And we didn't get off to a great start where Pat went mad. That was the first gig. Yeah.
Did he know? He knew you were sure.
We were a shambles. Our whole team were out the night before. And we were shocking in the final.
Was it like the Kilmacud Sevens? Like there was a big tent out the back.
It was that's exactly what it was like. The weather was horrendous, and we'd won during the week, and then we ramped home in our semi-final, and we were lighting it up, and it was like a Saturday evening in November, the off season basically, and we're like, right, we'll have a few pints here now, a bit of crack.
Was Keith Barry your manager?
No, Barry was the club manager of mine with Bridget's much later on. Mick Alvin was our coach.
Was it? Okay,
Mick was I think he was the Plunkets manager at the time. So we would have known Mick. Well, Mick lives around here as well, like some absolute legend of a fella as well. All Ireland winner with Dublin in '95. So he was the manager, I'm sure. Yeah,
would it have been a prestigious win? Like, would it have been a good?
No, see, it was a one-off. There was no record of this. It's not like the Kerry.
I'm after finding all the players. I'm after finding a list of all the players here. Yeah, and also, it was sponsored by the Sunnybank Hotel. The Dubs are ridiculous. How do you make money on everything?
No, it wasn't a prestigious thing. It was a one-off thing. It's never been done since. But
it was still sponsored. Yeah, it
was a big gig. Like, why not? Like,
it's amazing.
So yeah.
I have a question. Rolexes.
And did they mix up the clubs? Philly McMahon is playing for Dublin North, but Dean Rock.
North? No, Central I would have thought.
No, Philly's playing with Dublin North, and Dean Rock is playing. Dean Rock, Teddy Furman, James McCarthy, Jason Whelan are playing with Dublin Central.
I don't know how Philly was with North. I don't know. Maybe
the Dublin Colts. They're called the Dublin Colts. That's what they were.
What?
Yeah, that's what's down as.
Oh, Dublin Colts. Sorry, they were thrown in. That was kind of young lads. That was a load of young fellas who Pat wanted to have a look at them separately.
This is fucking comical.
this is where the names come in. That's why this. They should have had this every year. They should have had this every year. I want to bring this back. The Dublin regional tournament needs to come back.
Do you reckon
in Croker?
Did this help you win? This probably helped you win the All Ireland. This is probably it, like.
No, we We lost to Kerry by 100 points the following year.
Okay.
But no, I remember it well. Absolute hurricane on the Sunday. And our whole team was sitting in the car in Innisfails, sitting in our cars in the car park, like, we're not playing this match. We couldn't possibly go out there. The hack of us, like we got it. Giller came in after and absolutely ate all of us. He's like, "You're a disgrace." Stay. He's like,
Okay.
yeah, not a great start, unfortunately. Okay. Yeah, but that was a regional tournament. Yeah, I'd say we got a few players out of that.
I'd say you did.
I'd definitely say we did. Yeah.
I'll share a link to the panel after the pod if anyone's interested.
How much did we lose the final by?
I can only get the squads here, and it actually says it gives all the squads apart from Dublin West squad to be finalised. So
that was us, yeah.
Yeah.
I think we picked up a few fellas from the night out and brought them out with us the next day.
That's right.
I was Mark and Dermot in the final.
No way.
Yeah. Me absolutely dying playing fullback on Dermot.
Sportsfile are out of it too. There's actually an album of photos from it, but I can't find one of you, Paddy, so you're lucky.
Diving blocks everywhere.
Yeah, there you go.
Full back there.
Yeah. You are listening to episode 37 of season 2 of the Football Pod of Paddy Andrews and James O'Donoghue. We'll be back right after this talking a bit more football. All right, you are very welcome back to the Football Pod here with Paddy Andrews and James O'Donoghue.
The Dublin Colts. I like that.
that is brilliant, though. A couple of young fellas who couldn't make the teams. Give them a team.
Hey, but they were the best. They actually had all the future.
James McCarthy,
like
Dean Rock. Oh, that's
One
not
Direction.
bad. They're only 15 at the time.
One Direction.
You weren't allowed to tackle them. Yeah, it was very X Factor, wasn't it? Like, yeah, teenagers. The teenagers team.
Well, hopefully in Meath it goes just as well in Meath, and it sparks just as influential a couple of years in the county.
They should do it over a weekend though, Tommy. That's where you get like a festival. It should be a 2 or 3 day tournament.
And get onto that Sunny crowd. Who's the Sunny Hotels again?
Sunny Banks Hotel.
Yeah, it's gone.
It was in Drumcondra, wasn't it? No, Phibsborough.
Yeah. Drumcondra, yeah, between down the road from right beside Croker, like 5 minutes from Croker,
yeah. Yeah, okay. That was probably where the previous night's action was.
Was it? No, it was more local. We had a nightclub out here. It's still here, I think, actually. Heaven nightclub. Anyone from Dublin West would have remembered that fondly. Beach parties and everything.
Okay. All right. So
glory days.
We're obviously in the midst of club finals and junior, intermediate level, senior level, all of that's going on right now. But James, for all the sorry people who've been beaten and knocked out and suddenly have no football to look forward to, even though they planned their next 2 months around training and winning and various Monday clubs, what are they supposed to do in pre-season? What would be your perfect pre-season to become a better footballer? I'm not asking about a few months off.
Yeah.
That if you're sitting there and you want to get better, what are you doing?
Well, in my ideal pre-season, I wouldn't actually finish up I know some fellas like putting the boots away for a month or 6 weeks, and just concentrating on the gym. But I personally, the couple of good pre-seasons I had, probably stayed on the field twice a week with different teams. So say, speaking of regions, like we have our East Kerry Championship in Kerry, right? Which would be a massive tournament, and it would be on until December a lot of the time. So you'll be training twice a week with the club all the way nearly to the start of December.
Do you just have matches every month of the year?
Yeah, it's just constant.
Making up tournaments, like.
Well, that is a prestigious tournament. That's one of the biggest ones you can win. But so we'd have that. So staying on the field, I think, is so important. And then just taking a field session out. So you're down to 2 nights to work on your gym work or whatever you had to work on. Some fellas might say, I'm putting 6 or 8 weeks into speed work or plyometrics or strength. I would say to take out one field session and replace it with that, rather than go, right, I'm not playing any football for 6 weeks. I'm just doing this, because when you're coming back completely kind of not unfit, but your eye is gone, it's hard to kind of get your confidence back and start to get back into the groove of it when you've completely parked the ball and parked the football or the football boots. So my ideal preseason would definitely be stay on the field twice a week. And then whatever I wanted to do in terms of improvement, be it strength, speed, power, I do that the extra night.
Okay.
Isn't it different though, Jimmy? It depends where you are in your career. I would feel like if you're a young flat and you don't have much mileage on the clock, you will have a very different pre-season or off-season to someone, say, myself and yourself, Jimmy, come to the end of our inter-county careers where we've had a lot built up. That looks very different. There's not a one-size-fits-all, Tommy, if you're asking a question of what's the ideal pre-season. It's dependent very much on the player, what they've done for the previous 8 or 9 months of the season. Have they had, usually there's knocks and niggles, so you've got to try and get that right. I would have found the older I got, the less outdoor stuff I would have done in my off season. I agree with Jimmy. I think it's very, no matter what age you are, if your season finishes now, say the first week of October, and you do absolutely nothing for the next 3 months till January, that is a disaster. Because you're going to, the body just will, even if you're a young fella and you go in, you're going to pick up knocks. You're going from nothing into heavy training pre-season with under 20s or senior inter-county teams or Sigerson and stuff like that. You can't just switch the body off completely for 3 months and come back in. Rest is important, but you need to keep the body ticking over, or you're asking for injuries and stuff like that. I would have done a lot of stuff. I would have trained continuously, but maybe not necessarily GAA specific training. So I would have done a lot of gym stuff. I had injuries, my hips, my back, my glutes. So I would have done a lot of gym work with our physios over the off season. Would have done it definitely on the pitch once a week, Jimmy. I agree with that. I think myself and Andy Moran spoke about this, and even Stephen O'Neill a couple of weeks ago. You need to be kicking balls for a forward, even if you're a defender. Just being out on the pitch, whether it's a Saturday morning for an hour, Sunday morning, Friday evening, whatever it is, go out and kick 60, 70 balls, just right foot, left foot. You need to keep your eye. I know conditions are shit and it can be hard getting out at that time of year, but it's important. If you're coming back in January, there's no point in being the fittest guy and the strongest guy and your touch is a car crash.
100%, yeah.
You need to be ball. And then the fitness stuff I would have done, I would have played soccer twice a week. I did a couple of whifters, boxing with Bernard Dunn, was savage training. Yeah. Do training with him for like 45 minutes. To do that maybe twice a week. You'd be in some shape after that. Just different types of fitness work that you're not putting a massive strain on your body. Like I say, particularly the older you get, you can't be out there in October, November, December doing mass runs and fitness tests. That's all going to come in January. You need to have the body. You need to keep your aerobic fitness up. But there's other ways, more enjoyable ways that mentally aren't even, like you'd enjoy going playing soccer. You'd enjoy going doing a bit of boxing, spinning classes. Stephen O'Neill talking about cycling. I would have done a bit of that. So I think the key thing is understanding where your body's at, where you are in your career, what sort of mileage you have on the clock. But you need to keep ticking over. You cannot take 3 months off and expect to come back in January. No, I just don't think that's going to work. You're asking for trouble with injuries and just not going to be playing well. You're chasing your tail. You're going to take you 2 months to try and get fit. And the way the season is now, you've got to hit the ground running. The season's over in July, so yeah.
That's it. Like when I'm thinking about a preseason, I'm thinking, what is it that's going to make sure I'm playing well when the season does start? So for me personally, that would be stay on the field a little bit more, because maybe I'd rely a bit more on that side of my game. Yeah.
And are you doing that on your own, or are you doing it blessed down in Kerry that you've still got club football?
The best starts to seasons I've had was when our club was going late, and then maybe McGrath Cup started fairly quick after.
Yeah.
Because I had a serious ability to go ridiculously off the walls, do you know what I mean? Not do enough, do you know, or
what do you mean?
Tire yourself a bit too much, or do you know, you'd hang around with the lads too much or something. Do you know,
a few of those winters as well now, yeah.
Yeah, so I just think stay on the field. Like, football is football. Do you know, it's not powerlifting and fucking all this stuff that the fellas get stuck into. I agree.
You
Sometimes
need a bit of that though, Jimmy.
you do to an extent.
Like,
You do to an extent. It definitely mentally you need to switch off from football. But if you want to have a good start to the season, and football is you're still fresh mentally and you're thinking about next year, I would say try and stay on the field.
Okay. Very balanced approach. I suppose, as you said, Paddy, it's up to the individual and where they're coming from and where they're at and figuring out where they're at.
Like if you're looking at it now, right, give an example, right? So who Lee Gannon says a young guy in a really breakout year, brilliant year with Dublin this season. He will have a very different off season now between now and January when they go back than say James McCarthy, who's had loads of miles on the clock. They'll both be ticking away, but their program and their training over the next 3 months, I would imagine, will be very, very different. And even though you could say a young guy like Lee Gannon had a brilliant breakout season, you could say, oh, put the feet up now. No, there's work to be done to kick on to the next level. There's loads of players like that, younger guys, 21, 22, 23 years of age, who had big seasons this year. Someone like Rob Finnerty from Galway, really outstanding season. The temptation would be to say, right, I'm putting the feet up now, because you've obviously worked really hard during the season to get to that, but you've got to go to the next level again and keep pushing it to get better. So every player, even though they might say, well, they're both senior inter-county players, they will still have very tailored off seasons. And the days of, of course, you go and have the crack it, you go on stag do's or whatever it is over the off season now, or the next 3 months, you get a couple of weekends away, but you've got to be ticking over. You can't just go cold turkey for 3 months and turn into Mick Jagger completely, or you're going to pay for it, ultimately.
I'm kind of going back to explain from my point of view. I've had winters where I've been injured and wasn't able to get on the field at all. And as you said, Paddy, coming back there, chasing your tail, knowing that you're off form because you're not kicking well, you're not catching well, you're not fit, you haven't run in ages. After every session, you're stiff and sore, you need more recovery. Ideally, you don't want that. You want to be able to have a bit of confidence left over, know that you've done a bit of work, and still refresh and be able to go. So, I mean, it is definitely, as Paddy said, it comes down to the individual. Some fellas like doing completely off the wall things just to stay fit. Those fellas probably don't rely on their skills as much, Whereas some fellas there, if they took a couple of months off the ball, and their skills went, their whole game would crash.
But if you're an inside forward, if you're a shooter, you have got to be kicking. There's a bit more leeway from the half back line or midfielders or whatever it is. But if you're a corner forward or a full forward, and your job is to score for the team, you've got to be out kicking balls at least once a week. I would always, sometimes more than that. Again, depending if the season didn't finish well, you'd be frustrated. It's right, I'm going to hit the ground running. We spoke about this before. I remember a couple of years where we'd have won the All-Ireland, but I wouldn't have played as well, maybe in the final or something. And there's frustration there. And I'm going, right, I'm nailing November, December time. So when we come back in January for the National League or whatever, I'm under pressure to perform. So you've got to be, you can't just come back. Some guys, if you're, this isn't Clifford, but if you were like Clifford now, he could turn around and say, well, look, I can afford to have a slow start next year in January, February, March even. I know I'm going to be the main man in the summer, but for 99% of players, if I was giving advice to guys, it's review where the last season went. Okay, that went well, that didn't go well. These are the areas I need to work on, and then go and do it. There's no real secret around it. It's a window for you to get an edge, and that you hit the ground running when the National League start the last week of January next year.
Yeah.
100%.
For a lot of club players, their next meaningful game after they're knocked out in September, October could be 10 months, 9 months away. So it's just, there's a lot that can be done in that time.
Yeah.
That is very, very long. It's
a big break.
Some counties, the league club level just isn't taken seriously enough or isn't big enough or good enough. I know in Kerry, obviously, it's big. In Monaghan, it's big.
The what league? The county league?
Yeah, for club players, yeah.
The county league down here is huge, honestly. It's fantastic.
Hmm.
It really is like. And
Some counties it's not though.
So if I was going in marketing, Jimmy, you'd say I'd leave the league. I don't need to went with that. I just need to focus on the regional championship. That's my remit, like.
In Kerry.
Yeah.
What regional championship should we have? No, we're in the county
But
championship.
the county championship, that's where I'm going in. I'm going to jazz that up. But I leave the county league as is. No new nicknames or anything.
That's traditional. That's on the
it's
ball.
not broke, don't fix it. Okay, I hear you.
We have a couple of quick questions, lads, from the Football Pod listeners. Paddy Andrews, this was for you. After listening to Ray Canal last week, this coming from Michael Jennings. If an AFL side came knocking, what would your response have been?
I did a couple of trials with them.
Yeah?
Yeah. Don't know how I landed in that, but I would have been interested to go. Like we touched on it last week. The opportunity to go and be a professional athlete it's an amazing opportunity for GAA players. And I know it's a personal decision because you're a kid, really. You know, you're 18, 19, usually around that age. You're still a baby and you're moving to the other side of the world. So it's a massive social decision to take. But I think the opportunity to go live on the other side of the world in a professional environment, what an incredible thing to do. Like, you know, and look, the guys like Tui, Ty Kennelly, obviously Mark O'Connor as well, outstanding players to reach the top of the game. But even if you didn't, like listening to Ray Canal or Conor McKenna, to go down for a couple of years and still have the opportunity to come back. And when they come back, look at the impact these guys are having when they go back into their clubs and their county teams. But I think as an opportunity to go down and do it, it'd be very difficult to turn down. I wouldn't hold it. And I know clubs and stuff like that are losing a player they've put a lot of work into to build up to that level. But I think for the player, it's an amazing opportunity. But it is a tough decision at that age.
You got exposure to the under-17 international rules squad, which we spoke about last year. You had Gary Brennan, Gary Brennan, Pierce Hanley, Michael Murphy were on that squad.
Shane O'Rourke was on it.
Shane O'Rourke was on that squad. The trial that you had, was that like one of the AFL combines that would be in DCU?
Yeah, there was a couple of them. Your man Ricky Nixon was over, yeah.
I did
too. Yeah, it was. Yeah. And then I pulled out of it. Then, yeah, it was like, no, I'm gonna hang on. I don't know how well I would have went in Australia at that age. Like,
do you remember any of the boys that were on the panel that went over then, or doing the trials? That went over?
Pierce Hanley. Do you know it was 2006, so it was minor. And Shane O'Rourke was the main man. Like, the Aussies were, because he was huge. He was about 6'5".
He was quality.
16, 17, and he's a brilliant player. Yeah. And the Aussies, I mean, lads, it was like Erling Haaland back in the day. Because we went down to Australia for 3 weeks, and I mean, they were queuing up at the hotel for him and all.
Oh, so the trials were in Australia?
No, this was the last international rules. So we played Australia 3 times.
Under 17s.
There have been trials beforehand. It was actually out in Kildare. Was it Leixlip? There was one out in Leixlip. There was one in DCU. So they were kind of going on, but then the Ireland team, this was in Australia, so all the scouts were looking at this going, could we take 2 or 3 of these lads? And Rocky was the main man. Yeah, Jesus. They were all mad for him. But Pierce Hanley was the only one. They're mad for Michael Murphy as well. So Michael Murphy was there. But Pierce Hanley was the guy who they took out of, went to Brisbane off the back of that. So, yeah. He went about a year later, but it was kind of teed up from then. He was so suited to it. He was just.
What happened to Shane O'Rourke? Just injuries? Was it ankles?
Injuries, yeah.
I think
that was 06. So he played for Meath, the senior team, in 07 when they got to the All-Ireland semi-final. Isn't that right?
Yeah. All-Ireland semi-final in 09. Obviously played very well against Dublin when they put 5 past Cluxon in 2010. Like Shane O'Rourke was playing, I think, up until I think there was a year that Garrity came back and O'Rourke was still around. He was just plagued with injuries.
Then, Tommy,
he was always plagued with injuries.
He was too big for his. He just had loads of muscle injuries, and he, like you say, he was 6'5", 6'6" when he was 15. Like, but technically, whoa, Jimmy, some baller. Like,
he came back.
Yeah. Big time, class, technically so good. Even we won the freshers all. We all went to DCU the next year. Niall Moynihan was the manager, so we were all in DCU the following year. We won the freshers all Ireland, and I think I think he missed a lot of that through injury. But you just get glimpses of this guy is just pure quality. Like, great stuff.
he didn't play for me between 2011 and 2014. I think he played a game in 2014, and then that was it. He was finished with the county. And then in 2017, he came back and led Simonstown to the first of, I think, 2 county titles.
Back to back, didn't he? Yeah.
He had 3 hip operations between 2011 and 2014.
Jesus.
No,
And they were those hip operations were in at the time. Like I say, if you had that now, you wouldn't be getting the surgery. No, obviously I don't know his case, but I remember at the time everyone was getting a fucking hip surgery.
Yeah, a lot of lads were.
A lot of squatting going on and stuff like that in the gym. And
I remember. Yeah, deadlifts. And, Jesus. Yeah.
I knew a lot of the DCU lads who've been traveling cross country as well ended up, they'd be traveling from DCU to their county setups, ended up getting hip operations too around 11, 12. They were the thing, weren't they, back then? There was a lot of them going on.
Yeah, it was a good few.
No, you weren't training hard enough unless you got a hip operation.
It was held against you. Like, you booked in for that surgery in November. You better need it. Like,
James, do you ever get a call from Ricky Nixon?
Who's he again?
The AFL scout. I don't know if you built like Paddy was a bit of a bear when he was that age.
I went over
George Mendes back in the day. He used to be in coppers wearing sunglasses. I swear to God. Like.
Did you play international rules, James?
No.
Yeah.
I was asked one year, right? I think it was 15. I was getting surgery anyway. I forget who was the manager.
Okay.
Joyce. Was Joyce?
But
No. Nagini was coach, no?
No, someone else. Who else was there?
Bomber.
Do you know what? I wouldn't have gone anyway. Realistically, what would I have been doing?
Joe Kernan.
Joe Kernan.
No.
Joe Kernan was the manager.
When?
2015.
Who would have rang me there? So who was with him?
Bomber was involved in a few of them. Bomber was Angie, must have been.
I think it was Paul something.
Paul Early.
Yeah.
Early, yeah.
Early would have been in 14.
Yeah, Paul Early.
And 13. He might have been involved with Kernan.
No, I'd say I would have been handing out the bibs or something.
Like you'd be a runner from deep.
The only thing is, I could have done a mulligan on it and gone over to Australia and just pulled the hammer.
That was the goal.
3-week holiday.
You want to go over and then, jeez, Matter, you wouldn't believe it, Joe. I'm going to have to tear me hammer. I'm going to shoot down to the Gold Coast.
Oh no, my leg.
Yeah, well, it wasn't for
right.
Anyway,
okay.
All power to them.
James, Cormac Finnegan has a question here. This is a bit of an out there question. I think it's a good question. Could spark something, see where it goes. Biggest regret of your career? This is deep.
Jeez.
Biggest regret of my career. Are we both getting this question?
Yeah, I put it to Paddy too. Paddy, you have a think there.
This
can be anything. This can be a pass that you didn't make. It can be a ball that you didn't catch. It could be a manager's word of advice that you didn't react well to. It could be anything.
I'd say on the field,
something you ate before a match.
Well, on the field, I would say that county final that we mentioned at the start, that we were up 7 points and lost in a replay after extra time. I had a chance of a score, the easiest score ever in front of the goals. I kicked it wide. I'd say we were probably 5 or 6 points up at the time, but we would have definitely won if that went over. Like, yeah. And I kicked it wide, and we lost. They ended up reading us back. Brian Sheehan got like 1-3 or something like that, reeled us back, beat us in extra time. Like, that is one where I'm sure a lot of fellas have the same thing, where you're lying in bed and you're going, oh my God, even a year or two later, even now, and it was 7 or 8 years ago, I'm thinking to win that would have been outrageous. Like, and yeah, so that was definitely a regret. I just didn't take a bit more care over that shot. Everyone has, like when it comes to pulling the trigger, everyone's missed. Like, but you always have that 1 or 2 shots that you go, fuck it, if that went over, it would have been different.
But isn't that like just like that's part of the game, though, Jimmy? Isn't it? Like
it is, but you
look back and say, I would have loved to kick more scores and stuff. But like that's like there's times where you miss. That's
I know, but this was county final for the Legion. Like, we hadn't been there in so long. We haven't been there since. We haven't been back to semi-final since.
And it keeps
massive, like, huh?
It does actually. You're not just saying it; like it actually keeps you up at night.
Oh, if I thought about it, it would be in my head for an hour. I'd have to like, Jesus. breathe through it.
Bringing up this, it's Monday night. Like, trying to be in good form here on the pod. Like.
Yeah, but like,
best there now.
There's always a moment in a game that you think back to, like, you know. And we had a good few in that match. Like, we made shitload of mistakes at the end, but you know, everyone has their one.
Yeah.
But that was definitely on field. If I had to go off the field, I say I got 2 surgeries in 2015 on my shoulders, one each, and like I couldn't move for 6 months, like basically sling on both hands for a couple of weeks. Like I would never do that again. That was an absolute mistake. Terrible decision.
You spoke about that on one of the early pods with us, and lying on your back, both arms in a sling, not being able to do anything for about a month.
Yeah, that was tough.
Would you have done one that winter and one the next winter, or would you have just not got the second one done?
I wouldn't have done either of them.
Yeah.
I'd say not, yeah. If I could go back now.
Now, that's hindsight, isn't it?
Yeah. But like again, you don't really know at the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a couple of moments like that, I suppose you always think back to. Everyone has their thing. Everyone has a couple of things.
Will you get sleep tonight now, Jimmy?
No.
That's you gone. All AIB, I'm off work tomorrow.
I just got stuck into red wine here.
This question in, like, this is a wine.
Cormac Finnegan.
Fagan, you give it a rest, will you?
Good question, Cormac.
Good. So, what's your biggest regret?
Yeah.
Injuries aren't like everyone. Injuries are bad. Like you always look back and wish you didn't pick up. So I picked up knocks at bad times in my career. Like I remember, and I don't know about you. I used to get injuries. I never got a normal injury. I never got like I've tweaked my quad. I'm out for 2 weeks and I'm back. Forget about it. I always got these off the wall fucking injuries. Like, I remember we won in 13. And it was a breakout year for me. And the following year, I was playing well. I was in the team. We bet Laois in the first round of the championship. And we're obviously going for back-to-back All-Irelands. And we're playing Meath in the All-Ireland semi-final, or the Leinster semi-final on the Sunday. And in training that Wednesday night, like the most innocuous thing. I kicked the ball in and I was tackled and kind of fell. And whatever way I fell, landed on my wrist. I was thinking, oh, fuck, that's like a bit of a sprained wrist. So Doc had a look at it, a bit of a sprain, it'll be grand. We came to train on a Friday night before the game on a Sunday, just kind of like nearly a captain's run, a walk through. And I was like, that's still sore. Like, I went to catch a ball and honest to God, the pain in my hand, I was like, what is going on with this? So Doc was like, oh, we get a scan on that and see what that is. And I remember I went into Santry the next morning, day before we played Meath, and it was with our physio. And the surgeon goes, yeah, we had a look at the scan. You broke your scaphoid. And I was like, what is that? Like, and he goes, scaphoid, it's like a little tiny bone in your wrist and it controls the movement of your wrist. So it connects when your wrist to your hand. I'm sure there's physios or doctors listening to this, pulling the hair out. The terrible diagnosis. But in my head, it basically controls the movement of your wrist. Your man goes to me, goes, right, we can operate on it next week and you're out for 4 months. What? And I was looking at him, I was like, are you winding me up? Middle of the championship. I was like, no chance I'm doing that. And he's like, well, like, what's the other option? He's like, well, you basically have a broken wrist. And I go, can I try and play? And he's like, well, yeah, if you want, like, but you're going to have to get surgery. So I ended up, didn't play the rest of the Leinster Championship, had a broken wrist. And I strapped it up and I came on the quarterfinal against Monaghan. I mean, if you look back on this, I came on in the Donegal game, the semi-final.
Yeah.
And actually scored a couple of points. And I'm literally running around catching the ball with one hand. With a broken wrist, but like that was a big season for me, and I ended up missing that. And the same happened in 16. We won that was probably my best year. We obviously bet Kerry in 15. I was playing well in 16, and in the league semi-final against Donegal, I was running after Ryan McHugh, so no good was ever going to come out of this. I remember planting my foot. We were hammering. It was a league semi-final, nonsense game, and planted my foot and just got a shooting pain up my leg into my back. I was like, oh, fuck, that's a sore one now. I didn't know what it was. And we came off, we were playing Kerry in the league final the following week. Remember that one, Jimmy? It was like 2016. It was like an anniversary for the rise. 80,000 in Croke. It was a big game. So
we won it, didn't we? Who won that? We won that by a point, I think, did we?
No, we won it, and then you bet us the following year in the league, in 17 in the final.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, same thing, back was sore. I was going, geez, thought nothing of it. That night, I remember I got home, and I couldn't stand up. I was lying on it. I slept face down in my sitting room. Went in for a scan. Same thing again. It was like, you've slipped discs in your back. I missed 4 months.
My God.
Literally came back, missed all the Leinster Championship, missed the All-Ireland series, come on against Kerry in the semi-final, and come on in the final against Mayo. But that was probably my peak, and ended up missing the whole championship pretty much. So there's always those ones. You get an injury just at the wrong time. But again, is it a regret?
That's nearly just.
It's just
lucky.
Like everyone gets injuries. You see guys missing big games and big finals. So yeah, of course you wish you didn't get injured at the time. Could things have turned out a bit differently? But no, I don't know. Like in terms of, I was blessed to play for 10 years with that team. It was absolutely, how could it turn out and go, I wish I won a bit more or something like that? Like it was just, I wish to be part of that. But yeah,
I wish I didn't go on the beer the night before the Dublin Regional Championship final.
I wouldn't change that, like, because it was great crack.
Against One Direction.
Yeah.
One Direction, the Colts.
The Dublin Colts beating us. We must run around the next morning. The young lads couldn't even get served, so they were always going to beat us. But no, stuff like that, like that's just part of the journey, isn't it?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's a regret, but the injury. But Jimmy, you have the same with injuries at the end. Everyone gets
plague.
Parcel of it, unfortunately.
That's listen, Cormac, that was a good question. Thanks for sending that in.
Any positive questions there? No.
Let me look for positive ones. There's a shout here. Niall wants to know, will Kevin Walsh be a good addition to the Cork management team? Niall, what we're going to say is that it's not confirmed yet. There was reports that Kevin Walsh was going to be on board with the Cork team. I'm not getting caught with this one.
He's going in with them as well.
Until I see Kevin Walsh in a Cork top, we're not talking about it on the pod. So we'll come back to that. But
their own WhatsApp rumor.
That would be very interesting if it did happen. Patrick Golden wants to know your thoughts on full-time managers in the GAA with McStay and O'Rourke. O'Rourke obviously retiring in December. We'll come back to that again. Obviously, we've spoken about it bits and pieces before, how time-consuming it is. We actually might have a couple of intercounty managers on the pod over the next few weeks, so we could put it to them there. Interesting. Couple of big guests lined up over the next few weeks. Brian wants to know, I feel like you've answered this before, worst defender to get in A versus B games. James, I'm going to show that you've answered before, because I would say Mark O'Shea and Tom Sullivan.
Yeah, 100%.
Who you said. And Paddy. Actually, Paddy, I'm not sure I know who the toughest defender you've marked. Was it Mick Fitz?
Yeah. Well, I was always on Fitz. Yeah, painful.
And what about in the early days when you were a Dublin cornerback?
Who were forward, didn't you want to mark?
Yeah.
Alan Brown.
Okay.
Yeah, car stuff.
Okay. We're nearly finished here, boys. I want to give one last shout out to a thread that was on Twitter today. It's really interesting. This is one of my favorite things about this time of the year. 6 footballers to watch out for in the 2023 intercounty season. It's from the GAA_edits Twitter page. Garrod Howley, Paddy, who you know from the football pod, does a bit of work for us in the background.
Oh, yeah.
Garrod came up with this list. So I said I'd run it by you and see if you had any thoughts yourselves of players you're looking forward to seeing next year. First player, Rory Murphy from Kerry. Obviously playing with East Kerry, so we might get a bit of an idea, James, from you what he's been like in the next couple of weeks once that's over. But he's been playing number 10, and playing around the half-forward line. Played midfield for Kerry under 20s, basketballer too, good footballer, good skills, big boy. Second player here, Conor Cush from Tyrone. So these are Gerald's words. We've all heard about the likes of Rory Canavan and Michael McGlean breaking into Tyrone senior side, but they might not be the only ones. Son of former Tyrone star Adrian Cush and a member of the under-20 team this year, could be pushing for a spot in Duran Logan's panel next year.
Tyrone are going to have, I think we're all expecting big things from Tyrone, a bounce back. And they're going to have a couple of young guys coming in from that 20s team. They're going to see McKenna Cup, National League action. They are dangerous.
Going to be some energy, some good energy coming out of Tyrone next year. Looking forward to that. Sam Callanan from Mayo is the next one. Callanan made his Mayo debut this year while he was still doing his leaving cert. So that just shows you what James Horan thought of him.
Yeah, he's got a bit about him.
Yeah, so interesting to see another running halfback from Mayo, another one of the breed. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
They've not got a forward in there somewhere now.
In Mayo, I don't know. There might be 1 or 2 forwards coming back next year.
Last thing they need is another attacking halfback.
Well, it looks like they have it. Well, do you know who? Do you know what? They're going to have 2 new forwards next year. Kenny O'Connor is going to be like a new man, you'd hope.
Fair.
And Tommy Conroy is going to be back. They're going to have 3. Ryan O'Donoghue is going to be back too. So next day is going to have a star-studded forward line to match his star-studded backroom team. Adam Waddock from Dublin. Say it again there, James.
Second favourites?
Second favourites already, yeah. Adam Waddock from Dublin is the next man that's been picked out here. Thomas Davis, man, starred for the Dublin under-20s in the middle of the field. Paddy, you're saying that Dubs have been looking for another midfielder to add to the arsenal, so that could be a footballer there who could be worth keeping an eye on from Dublin. This is an exciting footballer now. Shailen Johnston from Down. Kilcoo, man.
Another Johnston.
Will Conor Laverty get another one of the Johnsons back involved next year with Down? Could be interesting to see how Down get on next year. So that's a player to keep an eye on. And the final player, the sixth player, one of the Kildare stars from this year, Luke Killian. There's a couple of quality Kildare footballers. So
there, that's under 20 champions. Went all the way to the final last year. So that's what we're going to see. O'Byrne Cup or all the preseason comps and the start of the National League. So it's exciting that time of year, isn't it?
Yeah, it is
exciting. I hate, hard going. You're going out training in January and February, but now when they're looking in watching the games, so much change, both inter-county management and also loads of these young players are going to be getting opportunities. A lot of the big teams are looking for, like Mayo need to find players, Dublin need to find players, Galway be looking to push on, Tyrone looking to come back. Kerry, to be fair, probably the only ones that seem a bit more settled with their team, but all the other teams are looking to find 2 or 3 players that can push them on to the next level. So yeah, we'll see how those guys pan out.
It's going to be exciting. So
check out that thread.
Yeah, no, there's a couple of good players that have been popping underneath it. Keane McConville, who's been very good for Crossmaglen Rangers. Rico Kelly popped his name in there. And Mike Kelly mentioned Jack Mackin from Columkills in Longford. Just captained his club and was man of the match in the county final in Longford. He's 20 years old. So that's a footballer to keep an eye on as well. So we'll keep an eye out on that. Paddy, last one before we finish up this week. A behemoth of Dublin football sadly passed away last week. Brian Mullins. He was only 68. Died after a short illness. So sad news, very sad news in Dublin.
Yeah,
in Dublin circles.
We're all at the funeral there on Griffith Avenue last week. Just not just a Dublin icon, which he was, and that 70s team. Anyone who follows Dublin GAA or kind of understands GAA as a whole knows how important that group of people are, and particularly for us as Dublin players, you're kind of just following on from Heffo's team, and Mullins was one of the absolute icons of that team, and his role with UCD as well for over 20 years out in Belfield as head of sport out there. His role with St. Vincent's, obviously one of the biggest clubs in Dublin, and he was an absolute cornerstone of that, and the success he had with Derry as a manager up there as well. So look, just a totemic figure in Dublin GAA. It's very sad, and just being there last week and seeing everyone, the turnout from Vincent's and all across Dublin GAA. It's a sad day, young man's in his 60s. So his wife and his family and stuff like that. It's a tough time, but I think you could see the reaction, the respect he was held in, not just in Dublin, but across the country from GAA. A lot of the Kerry team from the 70s would have been there, James, as well, over the couple of days. So it's always sad when you see someone as iconic as that, going too soon, unfortunately. But sorry for the loss for St. Vincent's and all his family as well.
Yeah,
that's it.
That's it, lads, for this week's episode of the Football Pod. I'd like to wish the best of luck to all the clubs prepping for the rest of their championships. You're all very lucky to still be involved in club football. James O'Donoghue, best of luck to you and yours.
Sunday, you keeping an eye on that one now.
Paddy Andrews, let's watch some good football this weekend. I know you're looking forward to the Dublin final. I'm going to find a game to go to myself, and we'll be back next Monday. So everyone at home, thank you for listening.
Special guest next week. Murmurs of it.
Yeah, we've got a couple of special guests lined up now for the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned and we'll be back. Thanks, boys.
Good night, lads.
Cheers, boys.